Hi, my name is Mark Moumet, a member of the Elgins and Silver Kings. I'm going to put together a series of videos demonstrating how to play Chicago blues, how to back up a harmonica. A lot of people associate, some of the later string bending styles with blues guitar, but it really came from country blues guitar and more of a piano-like approach, where you're supporting yourself with the low and high strings, much like a left hand and right hand on a piano would do. So the first video is going to just show you the most basic patterns and hand positions, show you some of the grooves, and get started from there. And every subsequent video will be adding layers to what you've already learned. So start with the first one and just work your way through. What you learn in these will be a great jumping off point if you want to continue on with country blues and go further back, or if you want to develop some later styles. This will be a great foundation for you either way. And basically what we're going to be covering is the styles of guitar playing behind the great Little Walter and Muddy Waters, and a lot of the great harmonica players, guitar players like Dave Myers and Louis Myers and Eddie Taylor and Moody and Floyd Jones and Little Walter, Jimmy Rogers, guys like that. That's primarily what I'm going to be focused on, guitar playing of the 40s up through the early 50s. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go super slow into the very beginning entry-level guitar playing. I will show my hand positions up close so you hopefully can see what I'm doing, and I'll play the notes slowly so you can sound it out and kind of go from there. I'm not going to be showing things note for note per se, but I'm going to be more focused on the ideas that were used and how to incorporate those into your playing, how to tie them together as a launching point to for you to kind of experiment and put those ideas together in your own way eventually, over time and through lots of listening and experimenting with the things I'm going to show you and other things that you learn along the way. All right, so here's the first pattern. Very basic. Just playing the top two strings, E and A. I'm going to bring my right hand closer to my fretting hand so you can see both hands simultaneously. I wouldn't play up this high necessarily, but for the instruction, I think it'll be nice. So something like this. And then for the 4, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to be playing on the 5th and 4th strings. So just one string down, same pattern. And then back to the 1. Okay, and you're going to be, you want to kind of hit both strings simultaneously, or right together as if it's one string with your thumb. And I'm muting with my palm after I strike the note to stop it. That's key to get that sound. So you just kind of clamp down with your palm to stop the note, to stop the sound. Okay? So the 5 gets a little bit more complicated. The easiest fingering is probably do what you did over the 4. Just move down 2 frets to the 4th fret. You can still play that open A. It's a little funky, but it gets the job done and keeps the groove going nice and strong. So you can do kind of a boogie pattern, which I'll elaborate on later, but you're just going to do that on the 5th string on top of that pattern I showed you over the 4. So it's going to go like this. And just hit those 2 strings together as if it's one big string. So they both sound out together. And then back to the 4. Or just a simple pattern. So like, and then back to the 1. Or whatever to turn it around. So something like this. Second pattern is just going to be a slight add-on from the first pattern, just adding with our 2nd and 3rd fingers, a little boogie pattern to give it a little bit more movement, but everything else stays the same. So over the 1, it's going to sound like this. And over the 4, it's going to sound like this. Back to the 1. And over the 5. 4. So it'll sound like this. So the 3rd pattern is going to be basically what we learned in the first 2. Just we're going to be adding this note here, so it's going to go like this. Okay, so slow down. And so we're just sliding that 3rd finger up 1 fret to reach that. Four. I'm going to demonstrate how the first three patterns sound, put together in various combinations at, a little bit in a higher tempo maybe. Something like that. So the fourth pattern is something you might hear in some of the Detroit stuff from the late 40s and early 50s. Something to experiment around with. It's kind of similar to that third pattern, just sliding up like that, but they kind of did it in reverse. So it sounds something like... So the next pattern is going to be similar to what we learned in the first few, but instead of like a two-string rhythm, it's going to be a single note bass line kind of pattern. Okay, and adding on to the bass line pattern, similar to what we did on the boogie pattern with the two-string rhythm, you can also do with the one-string pattern. So it goes something like this. And on the 5 and the 4, kind of bending that note slightly. So here's a cool pattern, something like you'd hear on some slower little Walter tunes like Blue Midnight and Sad Hours and that kind of thing. So here's something you can use on slow blues. This is a single note bass line pattern like you hear on Blue Midnight. Here's a pretty cool bass line run that Joe Willie Wilkins did behind Crudup on a session, Make a Little Love, during the harp solo. It goes something like this. Yeah, and then play what you went over the 5. But yeah, again, I'm like hitting a bunch of stuff because I'm playing up so high, but trying to show you some right hand technique while showing you the fretted hands. Okay, so all of these patterns can be played both slow and fast. Can be played on slow blues all the way up to boogies. So, you know, the same pattern, you know, you could do something slow all the way to, you know, one of the faster boogies, you know, that Walter did and stuff, off the wall and all that kind of stuff. So. So just get used to playing at different tempos and understanding how they fit in all those kind of different situations. So the stuff I'm showing you in this video and the stuff, especially in the next video, are the foundation of all of this stuff. So don't skimp on this section. Most guitar players, you know, think this stuff is rudimentary and they don't spend any time on it. But this is what it's really all about. Everything else you put on top of it isn't going to sound right if you don't get this part like ingrained in your head, you know. You have to be able to hear it in order to be able to play it. You have to hear it in your head so that when you move to do chords or some runs or something like that, when you come back, it's seamless. You fall right back into the rhythms that you were playing before without losing your time or your place. So practice this stuff over and over. Listen to all the stuff from the 40s up to the early 50s, you know, with the Bluebird stuff, with Blind John Davis on piano, and the stuff in the early 50s, you know, with Dave Myers and Robert Jr. Lockwood and Muddy and Jimmy and all these guys. Listen to those recordings over and over and over and get this stuff really ingrained in your head. Super duper important. I would almost say, you know, listen to the piano players, you know, even more than the guitar players. I mean, just the nature of the instrument. Their left hand is just, the groove is so strong on guys like Big Maceo and Blind John Davis and those guys in the 40s. And even, you know, Span and stuff in the 50s. But all right, so that wraps up lesson 1. We did all the 2-string rhythms and all the single note bass runs, or at least enough to get you pretty far down the road. Lesson 2, we're going to start adding some top end to the bottom parts and finding out how to get the thumb and fingers to work together, hopefully, and we'll keep building from there with chords and double stops and single note runs and all kinds of fun stuff. So just get this stuff down and we'll keep adding. right, welcome to part 2 of this Chicago Blues series. Hopefully you guys made it through part 1 okay, and you got those rhythm parts going nice and strong and are comfortable with those. We're going to start adding some top end to those parts that we established in part 1. So at this point we're going to just try to add some things that sound good, that are relatively easy to play. So bang for the buck kind of stuff. Start with the easiest stuff, and we're just going to keep adding layer by layer. The top end stuff that we add here, we're going to try to stay down close to the nut so that our hand positions are right there to maintain the rhythm. We can bounce back and forth and do both at the same time, but we want to get the thumb and the fingers on the right hand working together nicely. All right, so to start with, we're just going to add the open high E string to the existing patterns that we established in part 1. So it's going to sound something like this over the 1. And then over the 4, we're going to also play the open high E string. I play the E chord when I hit it for reasons I'll explain coming up, and then I also do it over the A. Just kind of habit I developed. If you can just play it, just lift your palm away from the fretboard and you can do it the same way. Like that. All right, so the next thing, we're just going to add this hammered third G string to the pattern. So it's going to sound like this. 4. Like that. All right, so we're going to build a little bit more on that last hammered third lick. So with the B string, we're going to go the B and G strings right here. So it's going to go. Okay, so it's going to sound like this over the pattern. 4. Something like that. All right, so another variation is you can flatten that E chord out. Something like that. All right, another thing you can do is add this little bass run up to that hammered third lick. So it goes. All right, so another thing you can do is just flatten out that E chord, so it'll go something like this. All right, so a real simple chord that you can do is just the 7th chord, E7 here. So, and then just, of course, keep thumping on that low E string. So this 7th chord, you can also move that down 1 fret and play it over the 4, but still stay on the 1 on the low E string. So something like this. Something like that. All right, so the 4, here's something you can do. Here's just the regular 7th chord. You know, most people teach the 8 like that, but in the blues, we play it like that. Just bar first finger, and you can add that there. Okay, so over the 4, I'll show you this lick on the B and E strings, and then we're going to thump on the low string here, the A. So we're going to walk it up on the B string. It's going to sound like this. All right, so you can also move that lick down 2 frets and play over the 5, so you're still on the B and E strings, and I just thump away on the low A. Okay, so something like this. All right, so another thing you can do, similar to that lick we learned over the 4, is you can just use your, I use my 2nd finger on the B string here, and then the open high E string together over the 4. And then thump on that low A. And then you can move that down 2 frets and play that over the 5. And again, I still stay on that low A. Something like that. So over the 5. Like that. All right, so putting all that stuff together, you know, you can do something like this. And I'll bring my right hand forward. Something like that. All right, so in the first video, I showed you some easy ways to handle the 5 with the boogie patterns and stuff and the 2-string rhythms. It's probably not theoretically correct, but it works well enough, and I think it sounds good. Some guys don't like it, but it's there if you want it. And I'll show you another option here. This is probably what I use most of the time. This is the B7 here. And I usually use my 2nd finger up here on the low E string. That's basically like a 9th chord, I guess, and then it's got that bottom there. Okay, so you can walk up to that. Yeah, so here's A7. You can slide that up 2 frets, and you have the B7. Okay, and you can walk into the 4 like this. All right, so like if you wanted to walk up to the 5, that'd be a cool move, you know, from the 5 to the 4, so something like. I'll show you a couple of pretty easy turnarounds to do, so you can tie this together. So the first one is it's just this finger pattern, and you're going to walk that down chromatically. Okay, so so we're just at the 5th and 4th frets on the 5th and 3rd strings. Okay. Okay, so that's how it sounds. So you can go, and then I kind of rake it down, and I hit the open high E string on the top there. So. And you can go the other way. So here's a common Robert Jr. thing I use all the time walking up to the turnaround. So just on the 5th and 4th strings, same fingering as some of those rhythms we did in the first video. It's going to sound like this. Okay. Open D, open E. Okay, so like something you might do over the from the 5. Okay. Okay, you can also walk it the other way. Another variation of that turnaround, you can end with that that B7 here that I showed you earlier. So you can go something like this. It's kind of nice because it's right there, right? You're walking right into it. All right, so that wraps up part 2. Just practice all those parts independent of each other, and then work on putting those pieces together in various combinations to see how they fit together. In the intro, I tried to incorporate some of the things that I showed today, so you can kind of follow welcome to part 3 of the Chicago Blues guitar lessons. Hopefully you guys made it through the first 2 parts okay. Definitely spend a lot of time getting those parts down before you move on. So in this lesson we're going to be mainly focused on basic chords and some double stop ideas that you can use to kind of transition from one thing to the next, create movement in your playing. One thing I'd like to stress is the pioneers that created this music, they spelled out the entire language. You're not going to add something that is going to, turn this music up on end. It's already there. So just really focus on the fundamentals and get those down. And through some of the ideas I'm going to show you, I'll kind of point you in the right direction as to some ways to tie different things together. That's where your personality can come through, is how to connect the dots, how to tie these things together. And always ask yourself, am I adding more or am I saying more? This music is about simplicity at its core, and you want to say the most with the least. That's really what it's all about for me. It's easy to keep adding more and more and more, but are you really saying more? So ask yourself that. Guys like Muddy Waters and Floyd Jones and Jimmy Rogers and John Brim and these guys probably didn't know a ton about music theory and this stuff, but what they did know, they practiced hard and they had it down, and they got the absolute most they could get out of the things that they did know. If you like these lessons so far and you'd like to support the channel, I have a music website. It's called Devil's Tail Music. You'll see it in the screen at the end of this video with the web address. Lots of t-shirts and posters, signs, all kinds of blues memorabilia. So if you like this kind of music, I'm sure you can find something there that you like. Thank you. All right, so probably the most common chord when you're playing in E position is the 9th chord here. So E, and like I showed for the 5, I put my 2nd finger on that low string, low E. So and move that up 2 frets, and you can play like on juke and stuff like that. You can slide that like Robert Jr. would often do. And then taking that same shape, you can move that up to the 12th fret, and that's your 4, the A. Here's another thing that Robert Jr. would do. You have that 9th chord here. You can also do this and hit the 12th fret up here. Similar to the 9th, you have this here. I use that one quite a bit. And then you just move, so it's the 7th, 5th, 7th on the top 3 strings. And all you have to do to play over the 4 is to move your 2nd finger back 1. And then you can move that whole shape up 2 for the 5. This is a pretty neat one here too. We learned the 7th chord. You can lift your 3rd finger up and play that high open E, and that's a great sound. And then from that 7th here, you can do this. Another chord you can use is this one here. I think it was used in Hideaway. Robert Jr. also used it in Had My Fun. Top 4 strings. 12, 11, 9, 12. You can flatten out that 1st finger and lift your pinky. You can play that. Your Robert Jr. with like something like this. You know, whatever. Cool chord. Another cool thing that Robert Jr. used a lot behind Little Walter is just flattening out the chord here to get a nice little rhythm going. Over the 4, you just go up here to the 5th fret. Back to the 1. 5. So you're just flattening out the chord. And then up here, the 5th fret for the 4. Here's another variation of that flatted chord lick. That one. So you can go like this. Here's a neat little double stop. You can tie in with that chord I showed you earlier. Okay, it's just top 2 strings, E and B, 7th and 5th frets. And again, as always, you can still thump on that low E. And you can, sorry, I'm kind of like fumbling around with the strings, so I'm trying to play up high here so you can see both hands together. But you want to try to avoid all those extra noises when you're playing. But for the sake of demonstration, I think it's better this way. So, yeah, you can. You can walk that up or down. So there's the E7th right there. Just add that. And from there you just walk it down chromatically. And then you go to this pattern for the back. and then you can even continue that further, like I showed you earlier. You can. That's just tying both ideas together. So you got the first one, and then the one I showed earlier. Here's like another cool, like Robert Jr. kind of double stop lick here, up here. So it's G string and high E string together. And you can slide that up 2 frets. And this. So coming off the Robert Jr. Double stop runs. So Jimmy Rogers would do something similar, but he would shorten it up. And he started many of his solos this way. That's all those double stops I showed you earlier, just pieced a little bit differently. So you're on just the top 2 strings, 10th fret, 12th fret, thumping on that low E. And then those same 2 double stops I showed you a second ago. Same, you're using those 3, but after this. So. That kind of thing. You hear that a lot in Jimmy and Muddy. This is mostly Jimmy here. And you can lift that first finger off the high E string and let that ring out, like I showed you earlier with that Robert Jr. lick. You can do that on just this run down here. So an easy way that I've found to kind of divide up the fretboard is this chord here, 7th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret on the top 3 strings, over the 1 playing an E. It's right in the middle of the workable fretboard essentially, so you have 6 notes going that way, 6 going this way up to the tonic here on the 12th. So moving towards the nut, we have this, right? We have this. And then moving further up the neck, we have this series. And we also have this. And we also have this. Here's a cool thing that Robert Jr. would often do over the 4. You can also do it over the 5, and I'll just keep thumping on the low A. And then together sound like this. Here's a cool double stop run that Robert Jr. would often use. And then you can also play it over the 4. You can combine that into something like this. And you can take that pattern over the 5 too. So the whole thing put together sounds like this. So I'm a big fan of using open strings. That's what these guys did. Muddy and all these guys used a capo. So they can play in open strings in E and A position, which I'll teach in an upcoming video. But I'll show you how to use a capo using the E position. So I love these capos, Hamilton, heavy duty. Go with the vintage gear nicely, easy to use. So let's say you're playing an F, you capo at the 1st fret, and still use that reference that I showed you earlier. So, you know, that chord that I showed you in E, you're just moving that up. So now, you know, you're halfway in between octaves. So now all those things that you learned in E, you can play in F. And you can move it to the 3rd fret to play in G. Right? Okay, so you reference to play in G is right here on the 8th fret. So now your G's there. Okay, there's your reference. And you have those double stops there, and all the way up here. And that's pretty much all I use the capo for is F and G and E position. I'll teach you A position coming up, and then I'll show you how to use a capo in A position to hit some other keys. All right, so I'm going to show you an example of how you can tie some of these ideas together, all the things I've shown you thus far. right, so welcome to part 4 of the Chicago Blues lesson series. This time we're going to be discussing how to play an A position. Thus far we've been just talking about E position, and I'm going to show you how to play some of those E position licks in A position, and just give you an overview of how A position works and some different things you can do with it. The E position and A positions are probably the most common positions in playing Chicago blues, and especially if you're backing yourself or backing a harp player in a duo situation or a trio. And it's really nice to have those open strings available to hold down the rhythm, and also have the freedom to play some chords and some single note runs and things like that while still holding the bottom end together. All right, so typically you're going to see a lot of guys play A, with the bar kind of situation like this. But let me show you a different way. The disadvantage of doing it that way is, it's a real workout, a real stretch, and you're pretty much locked into that. If you play it up here, you have the open strings, and it's way easier to finger, which frees you up to do a ton of other things on top of it. So the basic rhythms that I showed you in E, all that kind of stuff, all you have to do is drop that pattern down one string. So now, playing in the key of A, it's going to sound like this. Okay, so yeah, you just one string down from the E pattern, and you're playing an A, and then you drop that down one string, and now you can play that over the 4. And then you can come back up here like as if you're playing an E. You can play that for the 5. And then back to the 1. Like that. Okay, and then, in the second lesson, I showed you how to add some basic top end to the key of E. So doing something similar, we can do that also in A, but we'll be reaching with our pinky instead of hitting that open string. So it'll be like this. Also hit the same fretted note there, the fretted A on the 5th fret over the 4. And then for the 5, you can play the 7th chord and then go to the 2-string rhythm. You can do something like this. chord I showed you in E, you can play on the 5th fret for A. And then over the 4 here on the 10th fret. Back to the 1. And then all the way up here to the 12th fret for 5. Back to the 10th fret. And then that 9th chord I showed you, playing an E, you can play that over the 4, the D here, right? So you know, the 9th chords I showed you too, you know, playing an E, now that's the 5 playing in A. So you know, you can use those. Yeah, so if you're playing an E, you know, here's the E7 here. Okay, so if you just imagine the nut being, you know, your first finger barred, and you bring that whole pattern up. So now, you know, an A7 is here. Okay, so now all the stuff I showed you in E is right in this area, right? So here's the E7. So this chord I showed you, this E7th here. So now playing that in A is going to be here. Okay, but now you can thump on the low A and play it like this. And for example, in E, I showed you how to play this over the 4, right? You can play that in A right here. You're thumping on the open D here and playing the same lick. So it's something like this. So like this I showed you in E, right? You can play that up here in A. Here's a pretty cool little run that you can do in A. So if here's your long A here, and the lick I showed you in E playing way up here, right? So we have that here in A. right? So, and then you can do. And then, you know, the stuff up high in E was way up here, right? Right? You can still do that in A, but now you're going to be playing it here. So there's the seventh, the A7. It's kind of your home base here at the 5th fret. So now, instead of playing way up here, it's just right here. And you can bend this B string a little bit. And that lick I showed you up here when playing in E, right? You can play that over the A up here too. And that lick I showed you over playing in E, right? That's now here. So here's the 7th. So now you can go, and then instead of playing the 3rd in E and just hammering on, now you can play it this way and just like quarter step bend that there. So. This is really cool to play over the 4. It's this one here. And then use your thumb to 2nd fret, low E string, right? And then you can kind of finger pick that too, and you can lift your 3rd finger up. Jimmy Rogers did that a lot. That kind of thing. And you can walk that down. Yeah, so similar to what we did playing an E over the 5, hitting this B, we can do hit the E7 over the 5 when playing an A. So something like this. And that chord that I showed you that was kind of the home base when playing in E position, that one is now up here on the 10th and 12th frets when playing in A position. And you can still thump on that low A. And all the stuff I've showed you in E is now all centered around that chord. Right? So now you have this, the same as this in E. So you have this home bass chord here. You have this. You can use your pinky here on the high E. Right? And then now you have this here. Right? The stuff I showed you in E. That's up here now. It's still thumping on the low A strings. And here's the A that you were playing over the 4 in key of E is now the 1. I don't use that too much in playing in A position because it's just too far away from everything else. I may use it from time to time, but it's there. And then this is here. And then this run is here. All the stuff I showed you in E, it's all right there. So here's the chord, the home bass chord. There's your 9th, and here's this run here. And you can play all that stuff while thumping on the low A. Where if you're just relying on this kind of boogie thing here, you know, how are you going to be here and down here at the same time, right? But playing this way, you know, and just thumping on the low A string, you know, frees your hands up to play all these other things on the top end while still holding the bottom end and just kind of cheating with the open string instead of doing the full, like, you know, 2-string rhythm pattern. You can keep it going enough and then come back to it, and then, you know, the listener's ears can connect that real easy. You know, it's enough. A real common turnaround in A position would be something like this. Just playing on the D string and the high E string. Here's some turnaround ideas you can experiment with playing in A. So you have the A here, and you have the open A here. Right, that kind of stuff. Here's kind of a Floyd Jones kind of turnaround, you know, in A. You can experiment with this kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff. Here's a good way to end songs in the key of A, you know, if you're doing your classic turnaround. You can walk that down like a turnaround. And then just the bar chord here, just walk up to it. And then they add the 7th. So it sounds like this. So I'll show you in an upcoming lesson how to play like in what I call like a barred position, where you're not playing with the open strings like you do playing in E and A. But another beautiful thing about playing A this way is in addition to having, you know, the low strings to thump on, you can play some of those stock licks that you play all that kind of stuff, while thumping on the low A. Yeah, so similar to what I showed you in E position using the capo, we could do that also in A position. So putting the capo, or clamp is Muddy's generation, you called it, on the 2nd fret, you can now play in B. So and then that kind of home bass chord I showed you in E and A, move that up 2 frets for B. Right? And you can move that capo up to the 3rd fret and play in C in A position. So from just those 2 positions, E and A, you can theoretically play all of the keys, right? You got E, and then capo up 1 fret. You have F, capo up to the 3rd fret. You have G, okay? And then you have A position, and then capo up to the 2nd fret, you have B, capo up to the 3rd fret, you have C, and you could even capo up to the 5th fret and cover D. So between those 2 positions, you can cover all the keys with having open strings, which is super helpful when you're backing a harp player, doing a solo gig, duo gig kind of thing where there's no bass, or you're having to cover a lot of ground. You can do all of it from those 2 positions. I'll show you some variations on how to handle some different keys in different ways, but my point being is, between those 2 positions, you can cover everything if you wanted to do that. Welcome to part 5 of this instructional blues guitar series. The first 4, I'd highly recommend going back and checking those out. They basically cover the low end of things, the chords, bass line patterns and things like that. This lesson I'm going to cover mostly lead lines and soloing and tying all those ideas together. Instead of the typical pentatonic scale, top to bottom, box pattern instructional approach. The blues is very much a feel type of music. That's the way I learned it, by a ton of listening and practicing over and over and trying to emulate the guys that I heard. And that's the way I'll teach it. I'll do my best to go step by step, from all the way from beginner to doing some advanced type single note style playing. Because of the short duration of the video relative to the material covered, things will have to move pretty quickly. So of course, feel free to pause and rewind and go over that section over and over until you get it before moving on. Here's a list of some of the things that I'll be covering in this lesson. I'm going to jump right into this. I'm going to show you the home position. We're going to be starting in the key of A. In the key of A, you can count up 5 frets. This is going to be your home position, and this is how you find the root note of the key you're playing in. So here are the notes we're going to be playing. Again, this is in the key of A. On the high E string, we're going to be playing the 8th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret. On the B string, we're going to be playing, again, the 8th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret. On the G string, we're going to be playing 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret. And on the D string, 4th string, we're going to be playing just the root note here on the 7th fret. So together, it's going to sound like this. So here's the first passage using the same notes that we just learned. It's going to sound like this, up to speed. Okay, so that's 8, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5, 7, 5, and then we're going to up to the 6. That's a hammer-on. So we're going to strike the note. And then, okay. So without any string bending or using any fancy techniques, this is just fretting the notes. It's already starting to sound like music. Here's the next passage. Okay, so on the 4th string, 7th fret, and then 5th fret, 3rd string, and then you're going to hammer on to the 6th fret. So it's going to go, and then we're going straight down the 5th fret, the B string first, and then the E string. So it's going to go. So next we're going to hit on the B string, the 8th fret, the 5th fret, and then the 7th fret on the G string. And then we're going to grab the 5th fret and hammer back on to the 6th fret on the G string like we did before. So it's going to go. And then hit the root note on the D string again. So the whole thing sounds like this. Okay, so the next thing is going to be this. Okay, so it's the same notes. Okay, we're going to start with that root note on the D string, and then we're going to hammer on 5th to the 6th on the G string like we did before. And I forgot to mention, I'm barring on the 5th fret here with my first finger all the way down, so I don't have to move my finger back and forth. So it's gonna, okay, like that. And then I'm kind of sweeping up. And then I'm also barring on the 7th fret with my 3rd finger. And then hammering on again. And then hitting that root note on the the D string again. And that is your A chord right there, okay? Okay, 7th fret, D, 6th fret, G string, B string, 5th fret, high E string, again 5th fret. So it's all those, that pattern that we're just working on, it's all right there. Okay, so the next thing, we're going to go backwards and forwards with those licks, so it sounds something like this. And we're going to end on the chord. So B string, 5th fret, and then E string, 8, 7, 5, B string, again, 8, 7, 5. So that sounds like, and then G string, 7th fret, and then back to the B string, 5th fret, and then back to the G string, 7th fret. And then hammer on the 5th to the 6th, and then the root note on the D string. So. Okay, and then doing it forward, we're going to start from the root note on the D string, and then hammer on the G string 5th to 6th like we've done in the past, and then straight down that barred 5th fret. Okay. Okay, and then B string 8th fret, 5th fret, G string 7th fret, and then hammer on the G string, 5th to 6th fret, and then back to the root note on the D string. So we've been building layer by layer, and this next lick I'm about to show you is a typical introduction guitar piece that you'd hear in Arkansas and Memphis-style guitar playing of the late 40s and early 50s. If you can get this down, this is a solid foundation for lead playing that will carry over to many different things. Okay, so we're on the B string playing the 5th fret, and then on the E string we're playing 8-7-5, and then the B string we're playing 8-7-5. So that sounds like this. And then the G string we're playing the 7th fret, 5th fret, D string 7th fret, A string 7th fret. Okay, so okay, and then we're adding, this is the 5 when playing in the key of A. This is the 5, the E. Okay, so we're going to end that passage on the 5 chord. Okay. Okay. Like that. Okay, and then you repeat it again. You kind of pause right there. It's like a little bit of a stutter. And then you end on the root note on D string. So far we have this. That's the next part. So we have okay. So the last part is all right, so 7, hammer-on from the 5th to the 6th, like we've done before. Down, 5th fret, 5th fret. 7th fret, hammer on the 6th again. Hammer on the 6, back to the 5, and then to the 7. You can hit that. Right, those barred notes on the E and B string, you can kind of hit those together. And then hit that 7th chord again, and then finish it back with the 1 chord. A. Right, so the whole thing goes. So hopefully you've made it okay up to this point. This style is deeply rooted in the Arkansas and Memphis-style early electric blues of the late 40s and early 50s. Guys like Joe Willie Wilkins and Calvin Newborn and Little Milton Campbell on albums such as, the Sonny Boy, KFFA. Album is a great one. This has Joe Willie Wilkins all over it. Do it if you want to. Cool blues, Stop Crying, Eyesight to the Blind, all that kind of stuff is just killer Joe Willie Wilkins style guitar on this. Another one is this one here with Willie Love with Little Milton Campbell on guitar. Just absolutely stellar guitar playing. Some stuff like 74 Blues and 20 Minutes to 9 and Vanity Dresser Boogie and stuff like that. Just all the stuff I'm teaching you, it's just all over this stuff and a whole lot more. But what I've shown up to this point is a solid foundation for playing those styles. Also, Calvin Newborn on like Miss Martha May, B.B. King's first recordings. Calvin Newborn was playing guitar, not B.B. King, and he's heavily influenced by Joe Willie Wilkins and this style of guitar playing. I also wanted to show you a little bit on the equipment side. In the 40s, guys that had archtop guitars were buying de-arming pickups that mounted onto your existing setup, with a volume knob, and all of a sudden you had an electric guitar, and that's what these guys were using on this material that we've covered so far. It's a great sound, the big woody full sound, that breaks up, with the small amps they were using. Killer stuff. But this is along the lines of something they were using. This is a Bruno, it's a K-made guitar from, I think, 49. So right around the stuff we're covering right now. I also wanted to touch just for a second on this guitar I'm using for the lesson. It's a Gretsch Ricky. It's a 3/4 scale, like parlor guitar with a pickup. So it captures that, early archtop with the de-arming sound really well. I did a full review on this guitar. If you want to check that out, it's also, look it up on my channel. So once you have a handle on what I've shown up to this point, you can start to mess with some things to make your lines more vocal-like and more expressive. For example, you can slide into the note. You can start your run with something like that, or like this. You can do hammer-ons. I showed this one earlier from the 5th to the 6th fret. That's the major third. You can also do it, down here, something like this. That's a great line to practice right there. That's just 8 hammer from the 5 to the 7. Right? And the same thing on the B string. So root, hammer major 3rd, back to the root. You can also slide into the chord. You can just slide into that double stop there. You know, in these late 40s styles, you know, they weren't doing like, you know, real big bends. They were just doing some small quarter step and half step bends and things like that. A good place to start on that is like on this 8th fret. You can just, so you're bending up to and then dampening with the palm of your hand to mute the note. You're not going up to this, you're not going that far, you're just going. And then taking that one step further, you can that's the 8th fret bend, and then 5th fret on the E string, 5th fret on the B string, so, or like this. And then tying that concept in with some of the things we did earlier, you know, you could maybe do something like this. You're just that hammer on from the 5th to the 6th to the root on the 4th string. And then, you know, you could bend here on the G string. This is a real popular lick. You can bend this up and then keep, like we did earlier, keep the 5th fret barred here on the E and B strings. So you're bending this G string up. And then using some of those ideas on some of the stuff we learned earlier, you could do something like this. You can also start to mess around with some vibrato. Arguably the biggest name of all when it comes to single note, you know, lead guitar lines is B.B. King, who also, you know, out of Memphis, was just revolutionizing lead guitar playing, heavily influenced by T-Bone Walker. You know, the 40s, you know, in the 40s, you know, T-Bone had these big bands backing him up with horns and whatnot, syncopated rhythms and really, you know, slick style of playing. And BB, with his, you know, big voice, you know, was taking some of the ideas that T-Bone implemented and expanding them in a way that mimicked his big voice. And that revolutionized, you know, the single note kind of playing. But BB was still deeply rooted in that Arkansas and Memphis-style. Most of the time, if ever, you're not going to have these big horn sections like they had. A lot of times you won't have piano, so those things really filled in the cracks and allowed them the freedom to play with a lot of open space and just play a passage and then sing, and then the band was just filling in the cracks, and they could go back and forth very easily and freely. Today, you're not going to have that kind of backing. So, if you play the same kind of lines, that could sound pretty empty. So, I've included, kind of a country blues backing and implemented some of the Chicago blues ideas and meshed them together with some of the Arkansas and Memphis styles to kind of accompany myself, so that I can play, as a solo, a duo, trio, and with a band, in different situations, and it's just super fun to be able to back yourself up when you're playing at home or whatnot, to not have to always be dependent on these big, a big band backing you up. So just to touch on some of the chords that you're going to use in first position, and we already learned the A here. And we learned this over the 5, which is just a 7th chord. Here's a 9th chord. That'll be over the 4. You can also play it over the 5. And here's another 9th chord. This is one popularized by T-Bone. These Arkansas and Memphis guys too, influenced by T-Bone. Most of them were up to that point playing 7th chords. It's kind of cool, when you're playing, you can play the 7th over the 5, and then play the jazzy or 9th chord over the 4, so you kind of have the best of both worlds between the country blues kind of feel and the city blues. And what was kind of unique about T-Bone too is he would bend into notes, and sometimes instead of playing this note, he would start here on the 7th fret and bend up to it. Stuff like that, which is kind of cool. You can also do that, when bending this 3rd string. You can start here on the 8th fret. T-Bone would use those 9th chords to walk up and have syncopated things going out the horns and whatnot. He might do something like this. Stuff like that. Unfortunately, there's a big gap in the recordings, during World War II to see exactly, what the evolution was during, the mid-40s with single note playing. But a lot of it points to T-Bone Walker. If you look at some of T-Bone's playing, these guys in Arkansas, like Joe Willie Wilkins and stuff, it's pretty similar. It's just more raw. And not so dressed up, but it's a lot of the same notes, and it's that continual kind of picking. It's got a lot of similarities. And BB's playing was very similar to T-Bone's, just a little more vibrato, a little more string bending. He would branch out to a few more positions, but sticking to the kind of mostly the stuff that we've learned up to this point. You know, I'll play something along the lines that BB might play, you know, in the early 50s. So leaving off with BB, I'm now going to go into some of the other positions that you can take those same ideas and apply those in different areas of the neck. So everything we've learned up to this point, we'll call that first position, you know, counting on the E string up to find the root note. In this case, we're playing an A, and then that chord, everything, all the single notes are based on that chord. Okay, the second position will be just moving up 2 frets, so 5, 8 up to the 10th fret. So it'll go 10, 8, 10, 8, 9. In this position, you know, sounds like this. And to locate that position, we're going to use this chord shape here. So that's 9th fret on the G string, 10th fret on the B string, 9th fret on the E string. So you can practice those licks and then end on that chord to get familiar with that reference point. You can play just those 2 notes too. The third position is going to be based on this chord here. This is a real nice, kind of sweet sounding chord. That's the 1. You can also play it this way over the 4 and move that up 2 frets to play over the 5. But I don't want to complicate things too much yet, so we're just going to, for the sake of the reference point for this position, we're going to use this chord over the 1. That's 12 on the G, 10 on the B, and 12 on the E. This is one of my favorite positions too. It's really useful. BB would use it this way. Right, and then later he would like super bend this here. He would like grab this and walk up like that, so he could get like a big grip to do that big bend. That kind of stuff. Chicago guys would use this position for things like this. Guys like Lonnie Johnson would use this position to do things like this. Also, I want to say, you know, for the sake of this lesson and to keep things simple, we're going to be focused on just the top 3 strings, G, B, and E, for all of these positions. So far, in first position, just to recap, we have okay, and then second position, we have, and then third position, we have, okay, the fourth position is going to be based around this or this. Okay. This is a comment like double stop bend. And then the root is right on top, right there. very popular in Chicago blues. You know, Robert Nighthawk would use this position for things like this. Although on this 3/4 scale guitar with no cutaway, this is difficult to reach in this key, but I'll do the best I can. So something like this. All right, so the fifth and final position I'm going to show, still in A, is based on this long A chord. There's the seventh, there's the long. Okay, and some notes you can mess with around there are I'll do a piece here try to use all of those positions so you can get a feel for kind of how those things work together in the key of A. I want to say too, the key of A is kind of the cake and get to eat it too kind of key, because you have the open strings so you can drive the rhythm, and you still have you know, your first position is right in the middle of the neck essentially. So you can go in both directions to do lead lines while still holding down the bottom end. So it's a great key. In this demonstration, using all of those positions that we've learned up to this point, I'm also going to be including some of the double stop runs and chord buildups and things like that I introduced in the first 4 lessons of this series. So if you didn't see those, you should go back. Otherwise, some things you'll be lost on. You know, there's a big misconception that, you know, maybe, you know, these old guys were sitting down and playing because they were lazy or something. But contrary to that philosophy, your feet are the most underrated instrument around. I mean, your feet are such an integral part of the music. You use one foot or both feet. I use both feet a lot of times. to create kind of a walking kind of rhythm section for myself. If you can't hear it, you can't play it. The blues is based on simplicity. It's 3 chords, but look at all the masters that came before us, what they were able to say using just those same 3 chords. It's just phenomenal. In my mind, the blues is more about doing the most with what you have to work with. Such as in life. I mean, you can make things as complicated and have as many moving parts as possible, but does that really make it better? So maybe the question should be not what do I need to learn or how much do I need to know, but what's the least amount I need to know to convey the message that I want to convey. Use that as a starting point. You can always add more and make it more complex, more complicated. But I mean, there's so many artists that were very repetitive in their recordings, that were some of the most successful or had some of the most unique or great sounds of all time. You don't need to do it all. Just do something and do it really well. Try to, after listening a bunch to the masters that created this music, try to put things together in a unique way that's somewhat your own. So using those 5 positions that we learned in A, I'll show you those and how they work in the other commonly used keys in blues. So we'll start in the key of E. So the first position that we learned in A, in E will be here, okay? So that chord will be this, okay? And it'll sound like this. We're gonna use open strings. Okay, that's first position. Second position, when we move to here in A, will be here. The third position will be here. Okay. Fourth position will be here, based on this double stop bend. And here is the fifth position. And unique to E, at least on my guitar, the first position can be replicated down here at the 12th fret. All the notes repeat on the 12th fret. So what we learned here at first position in A and down here can be duplicated up here on the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th fret, okay? So those 5 positions in F, okay, your root's going to be here on the 1st fret. Here's position 1. Position 2. Okay. 3 will be here. Position 4 will be here. And position 5 is, if I can finger it, is way up here. In the key of G, the root note is on the 3rd fret here. So first position, second position, third position, fourth position, fifth position is going to be down here in front of first position. Be right here. We'll skip over A flat. I don't use that one too much, if at all. A we already did. B flat, okay, is going to be on the 6th fret. So okay, second position will be third position. Okay, you have fourth position. Okay, and fifth position. Okay, in B, we're going to be up here on the 7th fret for position 1. Second position. Third position. Okay. Fourth position. Fifth position. Okay, in the key of C, we're going to be on the 8th fret for position 1. Okay, it will be way up here for 2. And for 3, we're down here. Okay, 4. Okay, and 5. Okay, in the key of D, position 1 is way up here on the 10th fret. Okay, second position is just a regular D. Okay, third position. Okay, third position. Fourth position. position. I'll touch a little bit on the differences between using your hands, your thumb and your fingers versus using a pick, some of the advantages and disadvantages of both. So, the pick has increased clarity. It's a lot more precise. It can be kind of harsh at times. And I like to play behind the beat and play a little bit more loose. The pick kind of stiffens things up to my ear. It can. I use it at times. If I do use it, I'll kind of hide it in my hand, like back here like this, so I can still use my fingers, and then I can grab it when I need it and then just kind of conceal it back there again. That's the pick. For fingers, which is my preference and what I use probably 80 to 90% of the time, I just have a lot better feel, and I like to play the guitar more like a piano and support myself in like a country blues style, where I'm thumping on the low strings and driving the rhythm, as well as playing lead stuff on top when I can. Sometimes it gets a little tricky, but I push myself. I listen to the other Chicago guys, and I try to implement some of those Chicago blues licks in with kind of a country blues feel. So sometimes it's not possible, but I push the limits and figure out what I can do and what I can't do. But the fingers and thumb give me a really natural sound. With a pick, you can do tremolo picking, like, so my fingers, I can do something similar, just brushing them back and forth. Something like that. Another technique I didn't really touch on is like a trill. I don't use that too often, but a guy I didn't mention that I really like his playing is Houston Stackhouse, and he'd do some stuff like that. He go, stuff like that. That's a trill, that kind of thing. On E, you can do something like, that kind of trill works pretty well. All the 5 positions that I showed you, you can use those for slow blues. You can use them for slow shuffles, medium shuffles, fast shuffles, boogies, just about any type of blues. You can use those 5 positions and they'll work great. You need to do a lot of listening to the masters. Those guys did things like nobody else. No matter how much somebody knows or how things advance, those guys who created the music, it's just not going to get any better. So listen to those guys over and over and over, and try to develop your ear so that you can learn things note for note, but don't always study them note for note. Sometimes just try to capture the feel, the essence of what they're doing, so that you can use that as a tool in your own playing. Whereas if you just learn something note for note, it's just like floating out there in space. You can only quote this phrase. You can't really, like T-Bone Walker and all these different styles. If you get inside them enough, you can start to mess around and explore, and it slowly over time becomes your own language. So I thought I'd revisit a lesson I did on my previous channel, Gasser Trucks. I lost control of that channel when Google bought YouTube quite some time back, but it's a good song to learn how to back the harp. Some great, Robert Jr. Lockwood and Little Walter interplay. Covers a lot of the chords and a lot of the recurring themes you'll hear in the chess era. I've kind of moved away from the chess era stuff in my own playing in favor of some of the older late 40s and mid 40s and stuff, Bluebird and Tempotone and Ornell labels and Parkway, things like that. But it's a great song to learn. I'll break it down into each 12-bar verse and just take it one verse at a time. The intro just starts out on this is in the key of E on the 9th chord here. Basically just gonna be playing the top 3 strings on the 9th fret, something like this. And then he slides up to the 9th fret and back. Okay, so it goes. And then over the 4, he's going to be doing pretty much the same thing. Top 3 strings on the 12th fret for the A9, and just be sliding up 2 frets and back. So, and then back to the 1. The turnaround, he's going to be fretting the 7th fret on the E string and the 8th fret on the G string, and then just walking that down chromatically, picking, and you're muting the B string there. So So the turnaround is something like this. The reoccurring turnaround is going to be starting on the high E string, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. He's going to do some hammer-ons here. Right? And then the B string, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. So. And the G string, 2nd fret. He's going to hammer on that, the 1st fret. He pretty much does the same turnaround throughout with just very slight differences. This first one, it sounds like this to me. So the standard, this part. And then here it sounds like. So. Something like that. Another thing I want to mention too, when he's sliding those 9th chords and he lands, he's holding that note a lot longer than most people play it. Most people cut that short, but so here's the first 12 bars, something like this. All right, so moving on to the second 12 bars. Just gonna start on the 7th chord here. So he's just gonna kind of do a build up, and then back a half step, and then back, and then sliding up to the 9th chord, and then that one I showed in some earlier lessons over the 4. That one. All right, so it's going to go. And he's going to slide that 9th chord again. So the turnaround on the second 12 bars sounds to me like he's doing this. That's pretty close. I don't think he's hitting that high E string before he goes into that. I think he's going straight into it. Like that. So it's like this. I keep doing that. I keep wanting to hit that. There it is right there. So slow down that turnaround to something like this. So the second 12 bars sounds like this. That's pretty close. For the third verse, we're going to be doing this. I showed this in previous lessons as well. Right, and then over the 4, same pattern. Back to 1. And then back to this turnaround is the same fingering, but he's just gonna, instead of picking that, he's just gonna kind of strum it. He's not gonna walk it down. Yeah, so he's gonna take this pattern right into the turnaround. Same turnaround as the others, but there's nothing in between this pattern and the turnaround itself. So again, it's going to go like. So the third pattern put together sounds like this. The fourth verse is going to start out with this big chord here. So that's 12th fret, D string, 11th fret, G string, 9th fret, B string, and 12th fret, E string. So, and it's going to go like this. And he's going to go back to that sliding 9th chord. And then he's going to slide up to the 4. And then he's going to me it sounds, he's just kind of doing some kind of like sweeping motion back to the nut, something like this. Right? So. And then he's going to slide into this. And then same turnaround as before. So the fourth verse put together sounds like this. That's pretty close. Let's do it again. So the fifth verse, pretty simple. He's just kind of vamping on that. sixth verse is probably the trickiest of all, at least for me. I don't usually play this lick like this, but he's just hitting this seventh chord. And he's just walking up to it chromatically, but he does it this way. So he's hitting the root, and then the same thing over the 4. And back to 1. For the turnaround, he's going to be using the same fingering, only adding this third finger on the 9th fret. So it's going to be 7 on the high E string, muted B string, 8th fret G string, and then added this, right? So it's going to go. So that verse in its entirety sounds something like this. The last verse, he's just going to be sliding these 9th chords. And he's going to kind of slide that again. And over the 5, he's going to be sliding way up here. Right? 5, 4, like something like that. And then back to the stock turnaround. And he's walking up to the E9 to finish it. So the last verse, when put together, sounds something like that.